it early and I'll be more entertaining by the time I get there, right?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Please do not feel like you have to wait on me to get there. So, yeah. And the staff there is pretty good about it. I mean, they've been on top of it. So I've been really thankful.
If you
Because
guys can
how
open
many
that,
places
that will be the document that we're working from today.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Okay, that went away. Why did it not open?
Were you able to open it?
There we go.
It opened.
Are you going to put that up on the screen, Marwan, or?
All right. How you doing, Captain? How you doing, Captain? Good to see you.
Brainstorm with you for a minute.
Yes, let me just hold on one
Mind
second.
writing it down, not very adequate, but
I need to myself really.
perfect person. All right, we're going to let the little stragglers get their plates, and then we're going to go ahead and get started, everyone. Can someone on Zoom just talk a little bit so we can see how you're coming through?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yep,
Christy?
we're here and ready.
Yeah. I hear you.
Hello.
Ah. Need to get you louder. Rev, will you turn up the TV? What is that? All right. Can you get that coming from the TV, Rev? You hear me coming out of the TV? Do you hear me coming out of the TV? All right. You beautiful folks in the room, we're going to go ahead and get started. Mark, Jessica. Let people know to take their seats. That sounds like a pastor there. All right, so you guys can see we have some folks with us on Zoom also, so thank you to our virtual guests. We can probably do like super quick introductions so we know who we are. There are microphones on the table. You can just turn those on so the people in Zoom can hear you. On the wireless mics, Pastor, if you'll turn those on for folks because they might not see where they are. How to turn them on there. And I will start off. I am Marvin Cameron. I'm the Executive Director of Gather Together, Grow Together. Every fourth Wednesday, we have a community breakfast here at New Horizon Ministries, 4040 Wheaton Way, 203. You are always invited to come. It's a great opportunity to share what your organization does or give folks updates. And now that we are post-COVID, in quotes, it's good to kind of get together and build relationship. So that's what it's all about. The conversation isn't always centered around housing, as in next month we'll be shifting to climate and some other issues of that nature. But there's always space to come and talk and meet and, be community and fellowship. And it's always free breakfast, so we want to feed you. And then we'll just kind of go from here.
All right, I'll start since everybody's shy. I'm Michael.
And please speak in the microphone because you got folks on Zoom.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Michael. Nice to meet you all again. I think I introduced myself to everybody, and just glad to have you here.
Yep, that's it.
And that's it.
Yeah.
I'm Sabrina. I'm with Gather Together, Grow Together.
Perfect.
My name is Josh Inman, running for Kitsap County Commissioner.
I'm Diana Sullivan with the Foundation for Homeless and Poverty Management.
Maria Fergus with the Kitsap Public Health District.
Lynn Krell with St. Vincent de Paul in Bremerton.
Maggie Brazel with Northwest Hospitality.
Matthew Garrett with Kitsap Community Resources.
Michael Aki, I'm here as a private citizen representing none of the organizations I belong to.
Mark Boatwright Frost, representing Resilient Ecosystems.
Joe Walter, G2 Housing.
Raylena Copus, Citizen Advocate.
Captain Dana Walters, Salvation Army.
Jessica Guidry, Kitsap Public Health District.
Oh, you know what? Here we go. Mary Gleistein, Kingston Housing, Kingston Affordable Housing Working Group.
All right. And then our folks in Zoom?
Hi, I'm Christy Lyson. Today I'm representing G2 Housing, and I'm also a downtown resident in Bremerton. Thank you.
Jenny Duff with United Way of Kitsap County.
And hey, Jeff Coughlin, Bremerton Council Member. My district includes downtown.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming. You have a packet that is in front of you. And we kind of themed this, what would MLK do? Since we are having a conversation centered around MLKing and the unhoused there and resources. So welcome to our solution dialogue. Knew that we now have the techniques and the resources to get rid of poverty. The real question is whether we have the will. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And so what you'll see is we've got a lot of folks here in the room that are stakeholders. We have a lot of different agencies that have been doing this work for a very long time. And we believe that we can be even a little bit more intentional about the work that we do, especially as fall and winter are coming upon us, and see if we can't provide some of these resources, these very basic needs, to our fellow residents and neighbors. On page 2, you'll see the problem: bathrooms, showers, laundry services, hygiene items, food, trash, equipment to withstand the elements, mental health services, medical services, social services, and housing. Of course, housing would be the pinnacle, right? We want everyone to be housed. And we're not saying that these things aren't being done. Just to kind of frame this isn't a, you should have done this and this should have been done better. This is, hey, we're all here together. What can we do, right? We're here to build. Out of all of these needs, they're all critical. What we want to do is brainstorm about these concerns that are here, right? There are no bathroom options after dinner at the Salvation Army until morning. And we're talking about the folks that are not able to stay in the Salvation Army because they've been kicked out because of behavior or other issues, or those that choose not to stay in the Salvation Army. So there's two, right? But some of the concerns have been, Kirsten Jewell, who will be here shortly, has talked about trying porta potties out at Veterans Park, I believe, and some of the concerns where someone burned down the porta potty, Also, another concern was needles being flushed down, and so trying to service the porta potties was an issue. So those were the two of the big concerns there. Another concern that has been reported is people sleeping in the toilet or doing drugs in the bathroom, vandalism, and then of course, where do we put these porta potties? And then do we have a lack of volunteers to monitor it? And then of course the funding, right? Because this isn't free, of course. And if there's any other issues that you can think there. Some of the ways to, resolve this obviously is cost. And here we kind of listed some of the options. The urban rest stop, which you will see kind of more in the back of your packet, that gives you a history. There's a few urban rest stops in the Seattle area. That would be the most expensive out of all the options, as it is several $1 million to get off the ground. Let me just turn to the back here and just read some of the quick stats on that. The downtown and Ballard urban rest stops have a large full-service men's and women's bathroom. The U District urban rest stop has 4 private shower rooms with toilets and sink. The laundry has 9 washers and 14 dryers. They do 160 to 200 loads each day. So we're talking about, quite the volume of services here. So you can see why that would be so spendy and would probably be more like a dream scenario underneath people being housed, right? But some of the other options would be providing porta potties down there, seeing if Salvation Army could extend their services if they had the funding and the resources that they needed to do so. Peninsula Health, as they have purchased the rescue mission building down there. The Foundation for Homeless and Poverty Management, which I just saw the founder walk in, Drayton Jackson. We have Diane here also. And then the Marvin Williams Center. And there may be some other options there as well. And so these are things that we're going to talk about in brainstorm today in our breakout groups. Of course, you can see on page 3, the need is funding, of course, facilities, services, labor, food, items, toiletries, warming items, etc. So these are the things that you'll also discuss in your groups. And then here's an example here in the middle of page 3. Was just an idea of what this could potentially look like, but in your groups you may come up with some other ideas. Is this volunteer built? Is it stipend? Can we stipend the unhoused to watch over and manage their own resources? Or does it take staff? Do we need to break this up into 2-day increments? What do we do in those night hours where there is no public restroom at all, right? Because Salvation Army is now closed, right? And there are no businesses that are open that allow for our restroom usage. Do we close for 4 hours? Like, let's say from 12 to 4 a.m. or 12 to 5 a.m. and open up. And then you've got restroom services for 19 to 20 hours a day. So all these things are up for discussion. And then, of course, the location. Where do we put these services? Do we put them in between the street and the sidewalk that the city owns, right? Which is why we wanted city council here and the mayor. Again, can Salvation Army take this on if they had additional resources in regards to funding and other things of that nature? Diamond Parking, Monica's Bar, which I believe was purchased by Salvation Army. Is that correct, Captain?
Yeah, that doesn't close until March.
Okay, it doesn't close till March, right? So this would be after we're trying to come up with a solution between now and March, right? When the severe weather shelters open. The Marvin Williams Recreational Center, Peninsula Community Health, and then the Foundation for Homeless and Poverty Management. And I'm so glad to see them here today because of their rejuvenation center really addresses a lot of the issues. Hey, Anton. Let me stop here and just have the other folks that have come in the room grab a mic and just quickly introduce yourselves for the folks that are on virtually. And then people.
Sorry, I was late. Marlon, Anton, Northwest Hospitality.
Drayton Jackson from the Foundation for Homeless and Poverty Management.
I don't think your mic is on. See it up there? There you go. Yeah.
Drayton Jackson from the Foundation for Homeless and Poverty Management.
All right. And then I saw Kuye and someone else come in here, but when they come in, we'll jump back in there. All right. So with if Drayton, while you have the mic, let's give him a wireless one, Rob. Would you, because a lot of people have a lot of questions centered around the foundation of homeless and poverty management. I'm trying to memorize the acronym.
I know, I'll say Washington.
But would you briefly give us a synopsis of what it is, what the intent is, and the services you provide?
Right now, we purchased the building last year with the help of our legislators, Christina Roth, Tara Simmons, and Drew Hansen. And the purpose of the building was to give services the same way that I was lacking services when I was homeless, and having a place that people could just sit and be them. When we did it's a 3-year research between Seattle and throughout Kitsap that we did, finding what did homeless people want. You know, not building something that we thought they needed, but getting that information from them. And what shocked us in our research, which was a little bit over maybe about 1,700 people, was everybody said that they just wanted a place to go to think and get their understanding of where they were at and everything that they had to go through. So when we went back, my staff and I, we just sat back and said, well, let's get a building. And that's what we went out and sought a building to get. And you know, God has blessed us with a beautiful building, I'll say it that way. And the goal is to have a place that is theirs, not ours, something that is not judgmental, something that is not anything over it except them being there. And what we do it now. You know, we are open. We did a soft opening. We haven't promoted. Everything that we have gotten has been word of mouth. And we partnered with DHSH every Thursday. DHSH is in our building. They have serviced over 20-something people now and have gotten them services right off the street. So we're doing the work for it. The goal is a $10 million build out, which we do have some of the money already for it. It's going to be showers. It's going to be bathrooms, TV rooms. Definitely come by and take a tour. 2741 Wheaton Way, right across from forget the gas station, Diana. I know. SARS. What is it? Speedway, right, where SARS is. And we'll give you a tour of it. We have a beautiful design. And then we also added a park to it that's open to the community. This is a building that is strictly for the homeless community. This is not our building. This is not something that we are putting, you know, certain things up. We've even had it tested with people with drug use coming into our building, and we found that as long as we say, hey, look, you know, you can't use in here. If you come in here and you're high, then, you know, we could talk and have a conversation. And we've had a counselor. We just recently partnered with social services for DHSH to come into our building probably by January, February. So I do believe that it's something that is needed. And that was the thing that we said in the foundation, is that we got tired of asking for people to do stuff for us. And we saw the tremendous weight that Salvation Army had on their shoulders with trying to house everybody. So our goal was just to come in and say, hey, we're going to build something that will help our community just to get them off. And then the businesses downtown as well, you know, just not hiding anybody away, but just saying, hey, you have a place to go now. Our libraries, and I've said this everywhere publicly, our libraries have done a wonderful job. And I give it a lot of credit for the advantages with their staff not having experience in doing that, but they have done a wonderful job. I think that now it's time to have a building that the home can go to, that is built by people with lived experience.
All right, thank you for that. And I think that's important, right? We have a good understanding of Salvation Army, who has been here for forever doing this great work. And I'm going to go ahead and switch to that, if you don't mind. And so we asked Salvation Army, and Eric was able to answer these questions for us. And Captain, if there are some things that are different or can add context, please do. We asked, are all eligible for hygiene services, which include showers, vanity rooms, laundry, cleaning, and clothing replacement, depending on the size and the style being requested. Laundry is turned in on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and picked up on the following Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Showers are first come, first served, but typically serve 15 to 30 showers per day. And vanity rooms are for people to shave and do their hair care. Is that correct? Yeah. Perfect. They are also not limited by ancillary systems supporting the above services. Third, for the people they do serve during normal hours, they believe their people's needs are being met after hours, and for those ineligible for services, the hygiene needs are not being met. There's a decided lack of bathroom facilities in the downtown core, which is why we're here, available to the homeless. In order to be functional over time, toilet facilities need to be staffed and maintained and supported by some type of security precaution. Options are too many to write down here, but not necessarily an agent. There are other options. So, Captain, do you know, or can you share some of those options? Because this was Eric who responded to this.
Yeah. Yay, Eric, he's not here.
Give the captain a mic, please.
So let me just throw Eric under the bus one more time. So yeah. So Eric, for those of you who may not know, is our social service director, and he is stellar at what he does. So these notes came from him. I would say that we have tried several of these things to accommodate people who are ineligible for services and they can't come in. And we have failed because the bathrooms were now nobody will even rent bathrooms to us. So there you go. There are no honey buckets that will come to the Salvation Army. So that's been a real problem. Even if we could get one, we can't. Yeah. So I would say that maybe this group being maybe stronger than just us and being able to advocate for that is super important. And I think that I don't know of any other options because we've just run into brick walls, but I hope that you guys can find some. So that was really my way of saying I have no idea.
Captain, let me ask. So this was so they won't rent them. If we purchase the honey buckets, would they still service them, or is that a question?
I've not explored that, but I know the experience they've had has been very bad where, they've been knocked over, they've had, so much drug use in them, and then they've clogged them up and all kinds of stuff going on. And so I guess if you pay somebody enough, they would come and service them, but I don't know what their stance is on that.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Anton.
That's what they did at Veterans Park. The honey buckets stopped servicing Veterans Park, so the Park Service bought for. Okay, that's what they did at Veterans Park. The honey buckets stopped servicing the ones that we got installed there. They took them out after one burned down, and then the Park Service, for the record, I believe it was a housed person who burned it down. And yeah, one of the house neighbors came and had some fun in it. So the Park Service purchased 4 that they still have, and they got them installed in Honey Bucket, or I don't think it was Honey Bucket, but one of those companies was happy to come service them. And I think the larger units, if you do get the handicap ones, then we serve the people in wheelchairs a lot easier, and they don't tip over. So if you have the space, they're harder to damage. They burn just as easily, but they don't tip over, and so.
Well, that's a big part of it.
But yeah, they from our experience at Vets Park, they will come and service them if we are able to purchase some units.
And let me just say, for all of us that are doing this hard work, we've learned more in the last 5 to 10 minutes than. We have coalition meetings, we work in different circles and Venn diagrams and overlap, but this information is coming out for all to hear, right? And that really gets away from the miscommunication, the blame that can happen, right? Well, why aren't you doing this? And you don't know. Well, they did do that, right? And they went to the next option of, hey, you won't service it? We'll purchase it. But we don't know that, right? So we have to be intentional about working together and sharing information so everyone is operating from the same footing and knowledge base. So thank you for that.
Marvin?
Yes.
Marvin,
Yes.
are the Park Service owned units, are those still in operation then?
Vets Park was swept at the end of April, and the parks
Right.
removed those units, but I believe they still own them and they're in storage, so they'll put them into operation again when they kind of had no choice at one point because they had people living on the park and needed to take care of the water sources there, the wellhead. So that's why they invested in that, so they have them. And if that type of need arises again, they'll redeploy them, I think.
Perfect, thank you.
Do you know if it's the parks that own it or the housing homelessness division that owns it? Do you know which division actually owns it?
I think it's the Parks Service that bought them, but I'm not 100% on that.
Good question.
Kitsap.
Kitsap County? Okay. So as soon as Kirsten comes in, we'll have some questions for her. All right. TSA does have contracts with the government agencies, which you will need to talk to the captains about.
Yes, we have contracts with government agencies.
And then persons are able to safely dispose of sharps in the building. We do not maintain any sharp containers outside or off premises. And I think we can put those in the porta potties or restrooms, correct?
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
All right. And then the last one was persons may not be eligible for our services based on their behavior only. There is no other criteria that will make anyone ineligible. We do not provide meals for ineligible persons. We do offer water, mostly in the summer, as we walk through the neighborhood to anyone in need. We will provide blankets at night for persons whose behavior forces them outside. No trespasses are permanent. Everyone can be reconsidered.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I think that's one of the biggest challenges we have is people think we just kick people out because we don't like them. We are a low barrier shelter. So first, let me back up. We are an emergency shelter. We are not a permanent shelter. Our shelter closes in April. Okay, we started this because the county asked us when COVID came to begin a 24/7 shelter to be able to have a place for our people to stay safe and stay home because they don't have a home, right? And so we have been 24/7 sheltering since November of 2019. We break down and set up every day, twice a day to sanitize. We serve 3 meals a day. We're well over hundreds of thousands in meals, and we have a capacity of 77 people at night. We generally run that only about 6 months of the year. The rest, it's probably around 40 or 50 a night. Our day shelter, our day room is open and exactly what you said is that people just want a place. There is nothing going on in the day room other than a movie, because we really believe that when you're homeless, you're living in crisis mode. And people say, well, how come homeless people don't want to do this or that? Well, when you're living in crisis mode, you're thinking about what's the next 2 hours going to bring or that sort of thing. So when people have a safe place just to stop and think and rest, then that's when they can go forward. But that can take months. That can take months of just being able to have a safe place, right, for people to get better. But anyway, so in our facility, you can come in if you're drunk, if you're high, if you're, mental health, whatever it is that you have, you're welcome to come in. But you cannot be violent, and we will protect those people who are there with everything we have because we want this to be a safe place. It breaks my heart when we have to make people ineligible for services, but I can tell you that it breaks my husband's heart even more. And Captain Lance is out on the streets every day in the back lots, walking around, talking to people off our property who trying to, just understand their need. And as they said, it used to be that permanent trespasses were permanent until Captain Lance came, because he doesn't believe that anything is forever, right? He wants everybody to be restored, and that's really his heart. I'm much more the administrative person in the office, so. But we do, there's a reason that we don't feed people, give them meals who are trespassed, and that's because they hang around the periphery, and many of the people who are trespassed are more of the criminal element, of the home. There are people who prey on the homeless community, and so we do not want those people hanging around the periphery, and it just adds more problems. And so people, I know, they're like, well, how come you don't feed people? You know, you're the Starvation Army. It's like, oh, okay. We only fed 300 people today. I'm sorry that wasn't enough. And I know there are people who are hungry, but we can only do what we can do. And a lot of people will come and bring food into the parking lot behind Monica's or the old rescue mission, and that's wonderful, but they don't stay around to clean it up. They just drop it off, and that's great, but everybody complains about the garbage. Well, there are no garbage cans out there, and somebody said, well, how come the Salvation Army doesn't provide garbage bags? That's not what we do, right? We're struggling to survive doing this 24/7 shelter, getting staff and those kind of things. We are not sitting around eating bonbons with nothing to do. We are beyond our capacity of what we're doing, and so it is not our responsibility to take care of the other areas as much as we like to, and we certainly encourage our people to not trespass, to move along, and all those kind of things. We cannot do that work as well. So while it seems maybe mean, it's the reality of what we do, right? We are provide for the 300 meals we're doing a day, and the people who are outside of that scope, hopefully there's someone else who manages that. I will tell you that the Kitsap Rescue Mission, they screen all the people who come in. We don't do that. Right? Anybody can come into the Salvation Army. So you kind of have these levels, and I hate to use the word levels because that kind of sounds horrible, but it's the truth. It's the reality that we live in. They do their thing, we do our thing, and we need somebody else to pick up after that because we can only do what we're doing. So.
Thank you for that, Captain. We have someone else that walked in the room. You want to just quickly introduce yourself?
Could I respond?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yeah, I just want the person that walked in the room to introduce themselves, and then you can respond, Christy.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Jewell Holst. I'm running for the Washington State House of Representatives for position 1. I definitely much am concerned about the homelessness issue going on. I have great compassion. I know what it's like to be homeless. I was briefly homeless about 10 years ago. And so I know the difficulties we're facing on a multitude of levels. I'm really thankful for everybody gathering here this morning and inviting everybody to come in a multitude of ways to come up with some real solutions. I think that through collaboration and some innovation and compassion that we can really make something happen. So thank you.
All right, Christy, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to the captain and tell her very much how much I very much appreciate her being here, and the bravery to come and say, hey, we're struggling just to provide for the people that we already do, which is amazing, and I don't want anything to be undersold as far as what the Salvation Army is doing for the community and for our unhoused neighbors, and we all understand that there are limits, and you need to keep the people that you are serving safe, and that yes, there's going to be sort of people that fall through the cracks, and those are the people that we're just trying to figure out together as a community. How does the rest of the community help put our arms around those people to take care of their most basic needs? So I know how it feels to be attacked for doing the good work, and to always be told that you're not doing enough, and I'm sorry enough, you're doing enough, and we as a community need to figure out how to support and enhance the work you guys are doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for those words.
It's helpful to have your perspective to help us better understand what are the gaps that need to be filled.
Thank you so much for those words of encouragement. I appreciate that. Yes, and we totally want to reach out to those people as well. So, yeah, thank you.
All right, Councilman Coughlin.
Sure. There's a question about the kind of budget process and what's before council right now. So I'm saying that in general, at a high level, we spent all of the past 2 days, about 5 hours each day, basically getting a brain download from department heads and the mayor of the proposed budget before us. Thursday, we'll have some discussion just among council on what we think about different areas and make some proposals. And after that, there'll basically be a proposed budget draft out to the community. So on November 2nd, there'll be a public hearing to get input, no vote or anything, just getting all the public input on the budget. So that is November 7th, the perfect time to everybody to speak up on anything, items like this. And then on the 16th, it'll actually go for a vote. So as far as, sorry guys, as far as the mayor's proposed budget goes, compared to, let me go grab them one second.
Max is in the peanut gallery having some very important words to share.
Max has some very strong opinions on this. So the mayor's proposed budget compared to previous years does contain an additional full-time employee in public works. And the gist of that is to basically help with trash cleanup across the city. There is also proposed $100,000 to the Peninsula Community Health Service Health Respite Center in there. Basically 50 for some leftover funds from last year and 50,000 for next year. EMS and police basically remain at the same funding levels as previous. And overall, it's a pretty conservative budget, recognizing we're in a recession. But there's nothing specific about public restrooms in there yet.
So, Councilman, is it appropriate as we do this work and we come up with a list of options, can we submit that to you to bring forward in your budget meetings?
Absolutely. You can email anytime. Email the city council email address, and it'll let you go to all of us. You can do that at any time. And then additionally speaking up for the November 2nd meeting as well. But I wouldn't hesitate to email if you have specific suggestions. And that's kind of what I'm looking for today. Is there a reasonable amount of money that we can propose with a solid purpose that folks would get behind to help out here?
All right, Michael, you want to grab a microphone there?
Will the November 2nd meeting be in person only, or will this one also be available on the Zoom?
All council meetings, including this one going forward, are going to be hybrid. So you can come in person or you can attend by Zoom and speak up that way.
All right, perfect. All right, so on page 5, you'll see we got to the bottom of page 4. We're on 5 now. We looked at and got an estimate on the honey buckets. If they won't service, then maybe we look at doing a straight purchase, but maybe we don't even need to do that since the county has 4 in storage, right? Which would be great. They've already been paid for. Waste management, I had a conversation with them yesterday. If we have a place to put the dumpster, this is what it would cost, $586.81 for a 4-yard dumpster to dump 3 times a week, or $915 a week, 5 times a week, if that's what was necessary. And that was as of yesterday from Waste Management. Yes.
That would be another good question for Kirsten Jewell when she comes. I know they experimented with the dumpsters in Silverdale when they had the folks living there next to the Walgreens. And I believe, if I remember right, they had some pretty significant challenges because the community began to use it as a community dump site. And that really ruined it for the folks who were needing it there in the community. So I think there's 2 sides to look at for us. There is one, can we figure out how to provide it for just the folks who are there who need it, who are staying there? Unfortunately, in Silverdale, you would drive by and there was beds, mattresses. I mean, it became really, unfortunately, people who had homes decided to make it their free dump site. So I wonder, I don't know how the county managed that tension, but I think it'd be a good question for us to ask Kirsten to see what they did with that.
Go ahead, Michael.
I think one important point of clarification is we are speaking generally for Bremerton, not the county. And Bremerton, or the county homelessness division, does not have as much pool in Bremerton. This is why it's important that the city council is on board with this, because they are going to be the ones making the decisions for this, not the county. And while their input is important, we generally, I don't think we'll be receiving the county won't be in charge of what's going on.
My recommendation is simply to ask about lessons learned not to prevent anything. I think whenever we can learn lessons from folks trying it, it's a good idea. So I totally understand that distinction. I just want to learn what lessons they learn so that we can do it most effectively.
Absolutely. All right, so we're getting ready to get into our breakout groups on the back of page 6. These are some questions for your breakout groups to consider. And then Drayton from the Foundation for Poverty and Homeless Management, would your location be open to having the porta potties there or keeping your space open if you had adequate funding to provide that service if there's no place to put these services down on MLKing? And the reason why I'm asking that question is as the Rejuvenation Center opens up, then you're going to have a migration of the unhoused there. Right. So it almost seems like a natural fit to start that, building that in now, right?
It's interesting because my brother here gave us a shower over the summer, and you know, we had, I think we did maybe 5 or 6 people, you know, because it was an outside shower. So, but when the word got out, we started to see people come by and they wanted a shower, but the way it was set up, they were like, all right, no, I don't want to do that. But it just showed that people would, once it's there, we're open to it as long as my board says yes, because I tend to dream big and always want it. But the great thing for us as our you know, a couple of people have taken tours, a couple of elected officials. We are self-contained. We have a fence. We're private. The good thing about it, though, is that we have control, like who comes in and out, and then we also have control of who uses the stuff that we have. We've gotten the respect from a lot of this community now that do come to our building. So we would be open to it as long as it's really mapped out and funded, because that's the biggest thing right now. We are, and I'm just putting it out there, our great partners at KCR has helped us tremendously, but we're about $75,000 in hotels. That money that we're not getting back, we're not getting paid for it, right? But we saw the need of just doing the work and knowing that, you know, one day people will recognize it. So we're open to definitely doing anything that's going to ease some of the pain that Salvation Army's going through, and even the rescue mission, as long as we have the adequate funding to keep it. My board has made it very clear to me that we will not take on anything that is going to put us in a position of strain to use services. So if we had a choice of a dumpster over housing somebody in a hotel until we can get them housing, that's a decision that we decided to make policy-wise, that we're not going to spend money on things that are not going to move people's lives. So we don't mind doing it, and we do have the space to do it until we get into construction.
All right, so that all these things are really important, right? These conversations, putting this together. So we're going to go ahead into our breakout groups, and now everyone has this equal footing for conversation. And I didn't have time to put you guys into groups because I didn't know who was going to show up and who wasn't. So we're going to do this the old school way. We're just going to count to 3. 1.
I'm thinking us Zoomers are going to be our own group.
That probably makes sense.
I'm not sure what the iPad and iPad 2 are, if those are going to be maybe a way for someone to get on Zoom. I'm not sure.
That's what I was wondering, if they were going to use those for getting a bigger grouping.
He goes to the back of a chair and a pad. Yeah.
There you go.
Before we go into our breakouts, we sometimes have, you know, covenants and group agreements and house rules, and we've all seen a million of them, and we're not making any rules like that because we can't compel you to agree to anything. So what we have are some hosts requests that are at each breakout room, and the primary one is the one my mom says is the only rule we need, any of us, anywhere. It's the golden rule, to treat other people the way you'd like to be treated. That's the primary one, but just some small points. Step up and step back is if you're somebody who tends to talk a lot, think twice before you do. And if you're somebody who tends to be quiet, remember that your contributions are requested and valuable. Please, one speaker at a time. Please be thoughtful about our shared time. We haven't said how much time we're going to spend in breakouts, Marwan. And if you can put your phone on silent or vibrate, that'll help. And take care of your needs. If you have questions, get them clarified. If you need to leave the group to go do something, if you need something from any of us, please let us know. We want to make sure that your needs are met. Stay curious and open to what you're going to hear. We've already heard some surprises this morning. And we're not assigning a facilitator to each group, so let's just facilitate this together and help us all stay focused. Thanks.
All right, thank you for that. So, Greg, what number are you? One. Okay, ones are going to stay in this room, twos and threes are going to come with me.
We're coming to your table? Sounds like he declared you.
I know, right? All right, let's go. We'll grab some people. Good to see you, good to see you.
Well, I think we met one other time. Did we meet in person? Oh, that's right. Yeah. Have you ever figured out that group stuff? I reached out to like probably 13 different groups. None of them would come. For the public space ownership overnight.
I don't have screen sharing capabilities, and I don't know if Marwan's going to come back, but do you guys both have up the document?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I just lost my screen that had the document.
Everybody knew that. But yeah. Oh, did you? I'll let you know.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay, so our question is, what is the best way to address the needs of bathrooms, showers, laundry services, hygiene items, food, trash, equipment to withstand the elements, mental health services, medical services, social services, housing, and other needs? So mainly it's the bathrooms and trash that are the immediate issues that we're looking at. And I'll take notes for our group unless someone else wants to volunteer.
No, I'm good with that.
That's good. Thanks,
Okay.
Christy.
Yeah.
So, looking at the bathroom needs, while the county owns some, I don't know that they'll lend them to a city because it's a separate government entity, and we're looking at downtown by MLK Way. So, that may be something that if the city does have in the budget would be great to purchase. And if not,
I haven't had.
I'm trying to think of. I know that most of us nonprofits right now are really tight for dollars.
Zoom folks, we're going to give everyone 5 minutes to get coffee and use the restroom. There's a line, so we're going to let them get refresh, and then we're going to get our conversation going.
Okay, so Marwan? Did he leave?
Marwan's still there?
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if we're supposed to wait more people might jump in or.
I know. Let's
We'll get
just,
ahead.
I mean, if you guys just want to keep going, we'll just go and we can catch up if someone joins us.
Absolutely.
I have about 15 minutes left in me, and then I'm going to have to take my own bio break, but I'm good. So, Jenny, go ahead and yeah, I think I agree with you that I doubt the Park Service, if they're even, or the county, whoever owns those 4 units, I doubt they're going to loan them to the city. They might be willing to sell them to the city, maybe. I mean, that might be an option, so they don't just sit in storage.
Yeah, a reduced cost compared to buying one new.
Right, and I have no idea. I didn't know if any of the. I was trying to get back to that document. I have a hard time switching back and forth, but was there any option, do you see, for buying a unit from Honey Bucket, or just the servicing?
I'm looking. This just looked like this. The Honey Bucket Standard Services. It looked like the rental cost and the servicing. It didn't show a purchase. And I think probably because most of the time those organizations don't want to sell them.
Sure.
Because they make money off of the contracts, which of setting them up and taking them down, because there's a fee for setting it up, there's a fee for taking it down. So they would lose some of that fee. But yeah, I think if there were, and I would definitely suggest the larger sizes, definitely for handicapped. I we have, I don't have an exact count, but there's 3 or 4 gentlemen who are in wheelchairs that I see every day at, at around the 7-Eleven area. And I think there's a woman too, but I don't know if she's still in
I
the
think
area.
she finally got permanent housing through Kimmy Siebens.
Oh, that's awesome.
Went through the whole court process to get her a protective payee and everything and got her into permanent housing. So,
okay, that's
basically
fantastic.
assisted living, because that's what she needed. She was in and out of the hospital all the time. So,
right.
Yes, I think she's taken care of. But yes, there are, plenty of other people down there that, and just for this year that, you want it accessible, right, to anyone who would need it, and that it's harder to tip over, is, also an important side benefit of having the larger
I was
units.
thinking if you just tightened up to telephone poles to make sure that they can't be tipped, because that was, that's always a concern, because even non-homeless, they, teenagers find it fun to tip I don't know why.
Right.
I mean,
it's like tipping cows, right?
Yes, exactly. It's like one of those stupid things that people feel, it's rite of passage, I guess, for some of them to do it. But, so I was trying to think, but it's hard to do it like in a parking lot, because there's usually not a telephone pole in a parking lot, but you want to give it where there's enough space to be able to negotiate getting in and out of those units. They're not, the most user-friendly is the best way to describe it.
So I'm thinking I can't speak for the mayor or Public Works, obviously, but I'm going to assume that purchasing versus renting, that renting would be preferred, because I think the city purchasing a unit, Public Works is then going to have storage space for it, personnel assigned to it. So though it's probably more expensive in the long run, looking at just a contract for Honey Bucket or similar service is probably more sellable.
Yeah.
And then the question of where to put it is a good one too, which would also have to go through Works and the mayor.
Well, yeah, and I'm trying to think of the parking lots that are around here that would be amenable, that are close enough to the Salvation Army and Kitsap Rescue Mission, but not on a main thoroughfare. I mean,
right. And for the city to service or to do it, is it that it has to be on city-owned property? They have to sit on city-owned property, or?
That I don't know, and I couldn't. Sorry, partially distracted earlier. If Salvation Army would be, if that was a possibility, they would entertain if that is possible.
Well,
to have it on their parking lot.
Well, I think the concern was there's some people who aren't able to access because they've been barred, and we want to make them accessible to other people who may be barred and can't use the Salvation Army proper, but are still in the area. So I think that was to try and find a more like a communal space where they could still access it, whether they were, clients of the Salvation Army or clients who've been barred. So
Jeannie, Jeff, and
the Salvation Army
Christy,
is not open.
You guys are part of Group 1, so we're going to join you in. That you guys good with that?
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. All right, Table 1, if you'll grab the mics, they are now with you. Since everyone was on a break, they were like, there's so much to talk about. They're super stimulated, so it's great.
We thought we were our own group.
Oh, they thought they were their own group. Yeah, they can hear you.
So the question, who's leading? Here we go.
Cannot hear them very well if they're talking.
are they using iPads?
So the question.
No, they're not.
So what is the
iPad, different rooms.
You sure you don't want to leave them by the
Oh.
No, they just need mics so they can hear you.
Someone talking to the mic.
And one quick public service announcement, if you haven't already discovered it, we failed to let you know where the restrooms are. And that is down this hallway immediately to the right and to the.
Talking while we're sitting here, this information. So if I take the Honey Bucket estimate with the every week service, times 12, that's about $32.50. So
Stop.
that's only for one unit. That's only call it $3,500 a year.
Breakout session. Question for the breakout session.
Now, I'm trying to look, see, those are for standard units. So I don't know what the difference is for the handicapped
We've pretty much
unit.
covered what has happened so far.
Is there a link on that
There
document to
it
the?
is. It says
Yeah.
honeybucket.com, and I'm gonna try and see if I can get in there. Let's see if that'll open.
GSA has military service.
Right.
And I do
I'm
just
on
wondering
there.
out loud too, if they, you know, if you do a contract with them, if they have stipulations about, if they go to clean it out, there are needles in there or different conditions, you know, do they service that or will they?
Do they have comfort trailers too?
They have kitchen trucks.
Wonder what that
they
is.
have shower trucks. I don't know about laundry. I haven't found.
I don't know,
one
but they
yet,
got VIP
usually
solar restrooms. Boy,
priced.
that's
They're
pretty
all
fancy.
auction, so you don't know what you're going to get. But usually, I've seen them go between.
Have,
10
which
and
I think would be
20,000,
great, you know, is the
$25,000 for
the,
a
the
truck
sink combo.
with a bed.
Yes,
that
where
has
it's
a
built
bed
inside, yeah.
that has
Yeah,
everything
the
ready to go.
ADA is wheelchair access with adequate turning circle space, large, easy to grasp handrails, translucent roof for better lighting, occupancy signal latch, anti-slip service for user safety, 3-roll toilet paper dispensers, 1,000 sheet bathroom tissue rolls, accommodates 150 average uses, hand sanitizer and sanitary paper seat covers available.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, then they have an oversized standard net that looks bigger even than the, well, let me see what the picture is.
I see all these now too.
The
Yeah, I don't know
ADA
if that's got
compliant they look longer, not necessarily wider, but I suppose that makes them harder to tip over. But there is the oversized standard unit as well.
Oh, yeah, I got some
No, but
pictures
they
of
don't
them.
show any handrails.
Inside?
Yeah,
in
it says oversized unit. It just says flat floor system, wide radius, non-slip floors, 68-gallon tank, large easy to grasp handles, hand sanitizer and seat covers available upon request. But I don't know if you can get a wheelchair in there.
Yeah, we'd have
That
to
would definitely say wheelchair access.
Yeah. So it might as well get the wheelchair one.
That makes sense.
No one.
Oh, it says, okay, wheelchair accessible, but not ADA
Oh, interesting.
under Liberty features.
Yeah, I wonder what the
Okay.
difference is.
Yeah.
Well, the top one says with turning circle space. So it means they could get in and then they wouldn't have to try and back in or back out. They could turn it their
That's
whole wheelchair
probably-
around inside the unit.
That makes sense.
So that's got to be a pretty good size.
Let's see what the quote is on that one for the ADA compliant.
And I'm wondering if there's a way and I hate to say it, but to up the amount of toilet paper and hand sanitizer, because I'm pretty sure.
You'd probably have to just have it serviced more often.
Yeah, I would most likely, yes.
Weekly.
I would probably say bi-weekly. I mean, if it's their only facilities and you're talking.
Oh, yeah, sorry, twice a week. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or probably just assume whatever the most they'll do. For some reason my webpage isn't working when I try and get a quote.
Now, I know he said other people were joining us, but I don't know how they're joining us.
Yeah, I don't know if they gave up on that or what happened, but I'm not even hearing the background.
Yeah, I don't hear it either. I wonder if he doesn't look like he's.
So another option is these trailers. I'm just going to assume we're our own group. I mean, and I'll keep notes. But, if you look at these trailers, they have they have like lots of different versions of them. Some even have, I think, shower. But they have multiple stalls, which then obviously this would be, I mean, people could still do bad things to it, but it'd certainly be harder to.
Well, I wonder, do they have a ramp to them? Because the
yes, they show. Well, there's stairs.
Yeah, I see a stair on each one of these, and I'm wondering if a ramp can be added, or maybe because you can't turn it. Hold on.
Right. while you're thinking about that, Jeff, so this is how we always end up just going around in circles because the city, has so many, what's the right word? Requirements for, being able to do something. So like they were saying, Honey Bucket, they won't give us anymore because, and so that's why they ended up buying those units that they bought and then just having those service. Cause then it's like, it's ours. So if it gets destroyed, it's, it's not your Honey Bucket,
There's a question. Yeah. What the liability looks like.
Right. And so, well, will Honey Bucket even, rent something to the city because they'll say,
Yeah,
no.
maybe too risky for them versus your best event or something like that they normally do.
Well, and my question is, does the city have to then also have some type of insurance on?
I mean, is that just absolutely cardinal, the city won't, buy some units and take responsibility and only has to rent or?
No, I think, again, just speaking myself out loud, guessing, I think they could. I don't think there's anything legally that says they couldn't. I'm thinking it's a harder sell because you'd really have to have Mayor and Public Works on board with, okay, we're gonna be responsible for this thing and manage it and store it and bring it out and clean it. Unless the servicing contract is totally separate, that could be a possibility.
Okay.
So maybe if Honey Bucket was amenable to, hey, we pay you X amount of dollars up front to purchase the unit, and then we're paying you the service fee. But if it gets destroyed, well, our money's out the door. Pretty possible.
That's why I'm wondering if there's a possibility to insure them.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a way to insure them, and if it gets destroyed, the city's not out any money and it would get replaced.
Which I'd imagine even at I'll just say even at like a beer festival event, you're gonna have, I'm sure, a few that bad things happen inside and there must be permanent damage or needles, even at, something like that. So they must have that written into the contract. I'd assume it's like a rental car. You can always do insurance. Just spitballing. I'd be shocked if they didn't have that set up. It's a good question to ask, basically, Honey Bucket.
Yeah, because I'm not seeing anything in here about it. And I
Do you
thought
see how there's that chat function, Jenny? Can you see if you can ask about insurance damage?
Hi there, I have a question. There we go. Okay, let's see. Honey Bucket. Really quick, so hold on.
Okay.
No, it's okay. I'm putting it in, but I'm just
if you want, well, yeah, I was gonna say you could use the G2 housing email address.
I'm just using my work number. I'm just using the work number. It's perfectly fine. I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
Now, one possibility is that they won't even do the rental. I mean,
Honey Bucket.
Because if I look to have special events, construction sites, recreation sports, wine industry, RV pumping, but nothing
permanent.
Generic, yeah.
Okay. It says, they're going to be texting me back the above number, which is not helpful because it's going to work phone, not my cell phone. So I won't be getting that text back. So hang on, let me see if I can. Now we do that. Let me close that down and let me try and restart because.
Okay.
Because I guess you do have to provide a cell phone number.
So while working out that angle, thinking out loud, there are the restroom facilities down by the harbor side, by the plaza there. They're farther away, but I don't even know off the top of my head what hours those are open. I know they were closed a lot during COVID. But those are probably
There's also toilets at Evergreen Park, but are they open? Are they?
Evergreens are open right now. I know that. but I think
Right,
they
but
close
what are
them
the
at-
hours? Do they close them at like 10 or dusk or?
Yeah, yeah, they
Yeah.
do, because the whole park is considered closed to dusk.
Yeah, see, that's the issue. Is the like, what do people do, in the middle of
Yeah,
the night for their toilet needs?
Yeah, so Honey Bucket will be with
Yeah.
me in a few minutes. It said, that's the text I got.
But those are like those maybe daytime options, right? Like Harborside or Evergreen Park.
Possible,
and
though Evergreen, you'll get them, it's gonna be politically tricky, kind of advertising those.
Because of the big kids playground area.
You
and all
got the
that.
kids playground area, a lot of, houses there. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard
I'm
some
not thinking
concerns from
like
residents there.
do some public advertisement, but I mean, just increasing awareness. I mean, they are community members that are allowed, they're members of the public that are allowed to use those parks and the Harborside, right?
Yeah, it's open to the public. So that is true.
I mean, I was just thinking that's a daytime option that maybe, then, if in a dream scenario, we can get some kind of portable units also, that is only like a nighttime option, right? That when the other places are not available.
So to be closer by the MLK area, I am wondering, what about behind the KCR building? Where they have like, I don't know if it's considered like.
That's what I'd
overflow
asked about,
parking.
because I know that people hang out there and do in that little playground area along the fence along, I think it's like 14th and Park. It's like a little structure there, and they go in there and under there. And because my friend used to live across the street, so there's sexual activity and drug activity going on in that little picture. So yeah, but I was thinking, yes, that is a place where, but I don't know what KCR, I think we have somebody from KCR here today. Maybe they can come back, but I'll put it down. We were also wondering about like, could the city provide funding to Marvin Williams to like have a bathroom facility kind of closed off from the rest of their facilities, that is but open, so like it's only open for that, for the unhoused.
Well,
and they can't get to other parts, right, of places, like any of those, like add it onto just bathrooms, add it onto a actual structure, for like Salvation Army or the new the wound care place that's going to be going in that area. Someone said, I don't know who purchased Monica's Bar, but that's going to be something.
It sounded like it was part of Peninsula, or
Peninsula is going to be next door, like
at the rescue mission. So,
yeah,
so,
exactly.
So, but one of these groups has purchased Monica's, which I didn't know what Monica's was for sale. I'll be happy to see that.
I knew she was considering. I knew she was considering being done with it because it's just been hard. So
yeah, she's not in the best area. I mean, I can't imagine how difficult it must be to run a business right there. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, my kids used to go to Discordia.
With problems.
Yeah, my kids used to go to
just being there. Yeah.
Yeah, remember when Discordia was on the upstairs level of what's now the rescue mission building?
Oh, I didn't know they were up there.
Yeah, so Discordia used to be up there. My kids used to go there to play games, the card games, and my husband would always have to go with them because we couldn't let them go by themselves because of all of the transient nature of area. And so, yeah, surprised that building is still standing, to be perfectly honest. It needs so much work.
Look at the map in addition to Marvin Williams.
Yeah, I don't know what the business is
the
right
fire
next to
department
it.
is just north of that.
Right. That is not a bad idea with the fire department.
If we did a porta potty and it was basically just in the parking lot there.
Right.
they're there 24/7. They could monitor.
Oh my God, Jeff.
Yeah, that is like a brilliant
Like,
idea.
yes. That would be amazing.
Yeah,
And then there's the EMS, right there, like for
They do, yeah.
emergencies,
No, I
medical
know they're stretched thin these
emergencies.
days. In council, all of us had definitely some pointed questions because there was no budget increase for them and they're stretched thin. But maybe there's a win-win there.
Yeah, no kidding.
But it's also the fact that I think even people who are going through their own mental health issues and addiction issues, they all respect fire department. They may not respect the police at all, but they'll be more likely to be receptive to the fire
department. More helpful and not, just like, oh, they're going to come give us a ticket for indecent exposure or whatever,
Right, exactly.
Or clear our stuff, take our stuff, it's kind of all that. So.
Yeah, because a lot of them respond when a place to sleep when it was too cold to be anywhere else. But they had bathrooms obviously for people to use in the middle of the night. So maybe it's trying to make that more available, not just during cold weather, but maybe if it could be expanded to,
right,
any night of the week where there just was not enough space in other shelters. But that may require, a little bit more funding for them and finding more volunteers.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
So the Public Works Department employee that's added to the new budget, is that, I'm not sure what all Public Works does, but is that only just for trash collection, or what? I mean, what is the?
They're basically, the way the buckets of money work is it's going towards their streets division.
There was some kind of combination between those positions. Like if we added bathroom facilities, could it fall under the auspices of the Parks Department? Like we could call it a park, the MLK Way Park.
If it was in park property, then yeah, it'd be under parks. Really where the
You
line
can
gets
just,
drawn.
couldn't we, there's no, you can call something a park, right? A piece of city property, right?
Yeah, I don't know what that takes. Probably some formal ordinance, but yeah, I don't think it matters too much where the money goes and which bucket. Just that the proposal's solid. Which right now, what I've written down is looking at one of the ADA units. I'm just going to estimate 20 a year for rental. That may be high, but I'd rather high than not.
Yeah.
And put it in the fire department parking lot. And I'm going to talk to the union rep I know to kind of feel that out to see if that's something the department would freak out about, if something they're amenable to, and maybe there's a deal to be struck, because I know they're always looking for more funding. It's got to come from somewhere. But if there was some deal there where we had a little more fire staff to help monitor and address some of the other needs they have, this could be a win-win is what I'm thinking.
Okay. That's my number one idea so far. That's completely new as far as where to locate bathrooms. And it would be awesome. There could be, a couple showers added there, a shower facility there.
And I'm thinking politically,
and that wouldn't have to be open in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have to be open in the middle of the night, right? It could be locked up, but during the day it would be open as an option.
That could be a possibility. But yeah, I feel like starting small with, I know it's never
right.
Things fast
Yeah.
enough, but
I'm not going to shoot for the moon. If they would take it. Waiver, which is an added thing, but it says it's only available to construction customers.
Okay.
So
low risk on their end. That makes sense.
Yeah. So I don't know if they, let us do that.
Which just from getting something in the budget, throw 20 a year, and if that means by June we've 3 units have been destroyed and that's been exhausted, then we tried the experiment and that's not tenable. But that's not the case because in a decent location we got volunteers helping, or anything like that, then yeah, at least could have tried.
I'm texting with them right now. They were asking me they asked me a question. They said, for what kind of rental? And I said ADA bathrooms in a city for public use. So hopefully, where I'm not going to say homeless, because it could be anybody who's outside and needs to use facilities, we don't want to.
Well, yes, I mean,
yeah,
there aren't in that area, there are not public facilities close by for anyone
No.
in
Right.
that.
Yeah, I've heard that. I mean, there's nothing in, like a Lower Manette, there's nothing out, unless you go to business downtown. How can, when I was doorbelling in Manette, that somebody was doing construction property and there was a porta potty outside that was unlocked. And I'm like, well, I'm going to use this because it's, 10 blocks up to the Manette Park.
Well, and because the Bachman Park and Whitey Dempstead Park, there's no bathroom facilities at either one of those.
Except for when there's music in Manette, then they have
Right.
little stalls down there.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, what, Marwan? Marwan?
I think he was testing.
Oh, testing. Got to get his earphones on.
Yeah. So, I mean, but the dream, if money were no object, I think would be awesome, would be a navigation center. So
Yeah.
that would be the dream. I mean, I know we have navigation people, but that's not really, that's people who show up to something. This would be a place where people can go to.
Right. One stop, and that's where the navigator. That's where the navigator is located there. Yes.
Yes.
I completely agree.
That at least county, if not state effort. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's, they have in Seattle, they have one of the nonprofits, for housing and homelessness.
And that's kind of what that urban rest stop is that we looked into. That's basically what that is. It's like a one-stop shop, that they have, which, I mean, we need here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it wouldn't have to be as big, but yeah, it's still an investment, you have to have the building and then obviously staff it and, have the facilities.
Yeah, I'm wondering what's happening with that big white building off of Wheaton Way that's across from the library that used to be Work Source?
I thought that's where they're putting.
I don't.
I'm going to, Marwan, how much time will you convene? I might take a couple-minute break.
Let's just all break.
Yeah, perfect. Cool.
Marwan, because I don't think he can hear us.
No, and I could do the beverage. Need to get some tea.
Yeah, I'm going to just write in the chat that our group is taking a break. Can you hear us,
Can you
Marwa?
guys hear us now?
Oh, yes. Finally,
Yes,
yes.
there we go.
All right, folks.
Well,
If
thanks,
you want
Jenny.
to come on back, get them back.
Ginny, is it possible to ask them for a rough quote on that ADA accessible one?
And when you say or can put it on own insurance, you mean like the city can insure it? Is that?
I'm guessing.
It says, or you can put it on your own insurance if you like. So like if I had my
Your
own
own,
private
okay.
property and I want to put it on there, I think is what they're saying.
Right.
I'm gonna ask them now if we can get a quote.
Is that something the city would do?
Yeah, I'm never gonna wager a guess. I say impossible, but I'd have to probably talk to the attorney and mayor.
Okay.
Probably easiest just to assume the upfront pay extra to have them insure it.
And are we saying we want two because we want male and female, or do we want just one and it's single use either or?
Curious, probably just one, and then we could always scale from there.
Okay. So we also do want it to have like the washing facilities inside. So ADA with facilities inside the restroom.
If that's available, it'd be
I
good
think
enough.
that, yeah.
Then you could scale back depending on cost.
Okay. And I'm gonna say Bremerton, Washington, because that's probably where they're gonna ask me next.
We've lost your, Marwan, we've lost your sound.
People are coming on back so we can finish our discussion as they're coming into
Okay.
the room.
Okay, I put in a request for getting a quote, and I put Bremerton, Washington, and I used our zip code here because it's pretty close to the Marvin Williams Center, and I don't know if it's the same exact zip code. It should be close enough.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm sure the 337 is good.
Yeah, I don't know the zip code to that actual fire department, but
It's in 337 as well, so that's great.
perfect. There you go.
Bam.
I should have started typing on a document rather than trying to write. Jeff, what do you think that the fire department might ask for in additional funds to host
Yeah, that'd be a good question.
bathrooms?
Staff, which is not cheap, but
Right.
I know they're at minimal staffing levels at the moment for what they got going on, and then that's due to, I mean, underfunded anyway. They're extra stretched thin with having to transport to St. Michael's. They've been having to wait hours in the emergency room with patients, extra population rise, and dealing with this vulnerable population as well. I mean, there's actually
Didn't know they wait with the patients. Is that something they're doing just because of the understaffing at St. Michael's?
Yeah, where they can't. I mean, they legally can't just dump them in front of the ER and say good luck. They have to wait with them until they're under St. Michael's care, and that's been Yeah, I think they said one unit was up there for 6 hours the other day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. I've been working with the Susan Brooks Young local healthcare group too, and I've reached out to UW Medicine, Multicare, and the public hospital district option, and yeah, but nothing's happening overnight.
Well, I'm wondering if they would be opposed to having somebody volunteer at their fire department who would be, willing to, having shifts, obviously, for added support since the funding isn't going to be readily available. There might be some retired people in the community or people who,
Or,
cash
you know,
money
You could sell
or even a paid position, but not at a fire department person's salary.
Like
that would take like the
level.
overnight, shift of just monitoring the bathrooms.
Yeah, it's a good. I'm going to talk to Craig Patty because he's the union rep. He'd probably have a good feel for it, and it's easier for me to talk to him than going to the fire chief. So,
well, and that would actually cover some of the other things that we're talking about here, because hygiene items could be kept there, and that person could, hand them out as needed. And a little bit of food, like I'm sure that it could
blankets or something.
Yeah, like a food drop-off location for people who want to drop off the food, but shouldn't be dropping it off in the parking lot behind what used to be Monica's.
All right, everyone.
Having it go there.
In a sharps container.
Yeah.
So they're not putting them in the toilets. Hi.
Definitely a good conversation.
Yes.
Yes.
We're feeling excited about one of our ideas.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So, I want to thank everyone for their time. I know some people had to leave and other people will be on their way out. If you don't mind, Rev, hand out the mics again so the virtual people can hear. Make sure they're back on and hand a mic out to each table. All right. So a lot of good stuff. Heard a lot of good discussions. We want to share out what you took away. And why don't we start with the virtual crew first?
Do you want all of our ideas or our favorite ideas, the favorite idea that we wanted to flesh out more?
All of the above.
Well, Christy, since you have the notes, I'm going to let you take that away.
Okay, so let's see. We agree with exploring more of the honey bucket option with the handicap version that is not easily tipped over. And also we know that we have several people in wheelchairs. We know that we have several people down there that are in wheelchairs, so having an ADA compliant bathroom would be the most helpful anyway. We explored, briefly about buying the units from the city buying the units from the Park Service, so they're not just sitting in storage and not doing anyone any good. Jeff thinks it's an easier sell to the city to, rent something that's serviced independently rather than the city owning those units, then having to figure out how to store them and that kind of thing. That's an easier sell, but not an impossible sell if we were to buy something, if the option to rent a unit that's serviced by Honey Bucket or some similar service isn't an option. We also talked about adding bathroom and or shower facilities to existing buildings in the area, like KCR, Salvation Army, like having something that's just, added to Salvation Army that's just open for bathrooms and is not open to the rest of the shelter. Marvin Williams, Food Line. We were wondering about the existing places that do the cold weather shelters, if it could be expanded to use year-round as bathroom facilities and or shower facilities. We also talked about, Honey Bucket also does shower trailers that they service. And so, like, if, going beyond just bathroom facilities, if we were to try and also get some sort of shower facility available, that might be an option, is the shower trailers from Honey Bucket they service. And they have several different versions of those. I had the idea of making a city park with bathrooms, then would be serviced by the Parks Department, some sort of small plot of land, and, making it a, MLK Way Park that then could be have bathrooms that are available for our neighbors down there. So our best favorite idea is that it comes from Jeff, and so I'm going to let him tell you what the idea is.
Sure. So this is something that may be feasible, definitely have to run by a bunch of people. But maybe quick back of the envelope quote is 10 to 20K a year to have that quality ADA restroom with weekly or bi-weekly, or weekly or twice a week service through Honey Bucket, completely contracted. And I think the struggle we're having is where to put it. And looking at the map, there is the fire department just north of MLK, which is obviously city-owned property. So I'm going to reach out to at least the firefighter union rep I know to get a feel for what his thoughts are there. But me just personally thinking out loud, if it's city-owned property, it could be a place for that unit to go. It's right next to, obviously, EMS. Firefighters are used to dealing with the situations. They could have oversight of it in case that, someone tried to light it on fire. Hey, they're right there. There is some oversight. And I know
Someone's there 24/7.
Right,
anyway.
24/7 monitored. And I know our firefighters are, God, they're stretched thin, like everyone these days. But maybe politically, there's a good win there to get them some more funding as well, if they're willing to kind of take on this extra task. Because I know they're stretched across the city, but it's possible to work. So I'll reach out to them first and start floating the idea.
Those were our ideas.
All right. Group 3.
We can't hear you, Marwan.
Group 3. Or actually, before
Yep.
group 3, any feedback, comments, questions for the virtual group? Any information that you may know as subject matter experts on what can be done or what couldn't be done? Any challenges?
I think that is a stellar idea because it is city property. It's right in the area we're talking about. You would understand the funding needs and already understand the challenges. So I really like that idea.
All right. And before we lose Kirsten and we go to group 3, Kirsten, would you just introduce yourself and tell people about the open house tonight?
Hi, everybody. I'm Kirsten Jewell. I work for the Kitsap County Department of Human Services, managing our Housing and Homelessness Division. So obviously, the county doesn't have any jurisdiction in particular over this area. I'm just here to be a resource and help brainstorm with all of you. Homelessness has no jurisdictional boundaries, and so it's a problem that all of us need to work together to solve. One of the things that we are working on is increasing the number of shelter beds in a way that disperses them throughout the county because people are experiencing homelessness throughout the county. So we're working on a project right now in Port Orchard to convert an old fitness center into a homeless shelter. It's called the Pacific Building. And there is tonight an open house for the community. Anybody can come and drop in 5:30 to 7:30. And we'll have the architect there. We'll be talking about what the design looks like for changes to the building. Commissioner Garita will be there. The Sheriff's Department will be there. Service providers will be there. So it's just an opportunity for the community to kind of find out what is happening in that space. We haven't even started doing any remodeling on it, and we're still getting our permits turned in and getting our permits
Thank you for that. Oh, yeah. Well, good. That's love. All right, group 3. There's a lot of pointing happening.
Because our conversation was hard to follow. We had some of the same ideas as this virtual group. I won't reiterate those. We kind of highlighted mental health services, housing as the two kind of most critical but hardest to approach issues that we're trying to work on here. And we talked briefly about how everybody in the room, most of the people in the room here are approaching this from a service provider solution, and the city that we're trying to work with is approaching it from the government position where it's kind of their responsibility to provide some of these resources. If they were doing a better job, they wouldn't have to be doing some of these things. That was my assertion. I won't lay that on the book. I think we can talk, so hold on. We took that and wanted to focus on how to make proposals to the city that focused on the numbers and customer aspects that will speak to kind of how they have to do the job. And so where we can focus on solving these problems by looking at how much it's going to cost the city if they do or don't do different things, and how much it will cost the budget. Will they save them money or the solution will be so things like working with local businesses to provide resources, serving incentives that kind of feed back to the local economy. If we can keep things local and build that society that supports itself and has some investments that doesn't really leave the city. Talked briefly about how grants are really reliable because they take too much effort to go for, get grants for bathrooms and water towers and some of these other services that we should pay for those grants. And then anybody else?
All right, thank you. Group 3. Any comments? Share out. Tom, would you mind sharing? You said you agreed with the virtual group to say just state those, the details, where we have some graphs there.
Providing some porta potties. We're talking specifically about this as a temporary solution. Maybe porta potties PCHS property. They have that up and running. That might be a good spot to place those. That will serve the people that are staying up there already. They're not able to access.
Well, we had talked about also being more community oriented and having, especially for all of our organizations to participate in going around McWilliams, especially over there by Salvation Army, and having a cleanup, like once a month, go over there, clean up, get the trash, and take it away. So that it could start just feeling like just a cleaner space. That was one of the things that we had talked about, like with the the trash part, and maybe even providing like hygiene items, because I know that hygiene items gets donated a lot. So maybe we could put them in bags and give them out and things like that. But it was more of being more purposeful, because we do have a lot of organizations that are working with the homeless, and if we could all collectively get together and once a month go over there and do something like even if it's just cleaning up the trash. That's a purposeful thing that can be accomplished, and it can be accomplished like immediately. So.
All right, thank you for that. Any other comments or questions on Group 3? All right, Group 2.
Yes, so we found that bathrooms is foundational and fundamental need, alongside with laundry facilities. So we primarily were focused on talking about bathrooms, which seems like it's others' focus as well. And so kind of what we came down to, is that the community is going to be the ones that are going to be the backbone, the implementers, the planners, the financiers, and ultimately what we need the government to do is to clear a way and to enable it to happen. And what we're proposing is that we gather together, and this is the way that you always want to engage with elected and unelected officials, in ways that is documentable and they could be held accountable. And so you can do that by emailing. So coming up with very clear bullet pointed points to send by email to the city council, specifically for the budgeting. So just naming it in subject, maybe with a little different term on the end so it's relevant, but they see that as different, it's not copy and pasted. And then to present that we're asking for a commitment for a long-term plan. And so we talked about how the bridge commitment for that's going to be built in 2028, I believe it was. That first it started with that. It was the commitment, and then came the budgeting and then the planning. And so we're asking for the same thing, is for a long-term commitment, but also for a short-term commitment as well. So which would be the ADA accessible potties to be fenced, and then the number, if we could at least start with one would be great, and then we're talking about safety. That safety is going to be a big issue with it, cleaning, maintenance, and safety. And so I thought that, so we have for the long-term commitment to be working on that, and realizing that it's going to be community involvement. That's how it's going to be successful, not by giving it to the government, expecting them to pay for it all and expecting them to manage it. I don't believe that's really the government's role anyways. I already said so about that. I don't want to repeat myself. So, and then how to maintain it, to asking for temporary fenced-in porta potties, and then as an immediate action, and then for safety is, I don't know exactly what the term is, but I don't know if the mic's still working, but is to ask for the mental health crisis intervention officers, for lack of better words, if they could come in and to help through shifts, maybe rotating shifts of 2 hours, to come and just help to monitor. I thought maybe with ticketed, where the person, first come, first serve with a ticket to help maintain, to ensure that it's only one person at a time, that nobody's getting excluded, is just those type of things. And so that we know that the biggest thing is going to be is maintenance, and seeking only temporary solutions, and agencies and outside agencies to oversee it is only going to be a temporary solution, but the goal should be for a permanent solution, which permanent facilities that could be accessible to the public. I love the idea about being in the parks. That's an easy one. So if it's, and then maybe if it's on, the corner somewhere outside the building, I thought that was a great thing. So ultimately is to present the proposal for the budget. Can we get a commitment for a long-term plan? Can we have the short-term solution? And then this is a way that we can bring in safety, is through the mental health crisis officers that are already with our police department. So we can have something going and move forward with it.
Perfect. We can hear you, Marwan.
We had a couple questions. We're going to go to Joe first, then Michael.
And I'll add that there was from out of our group, someone sent in a recommendation that, I'm not sure about this entirely, that some of the concerns we have about porta potties might be addressed if we modify the doors like in a school bathroom or someplace where you can see feet or you can see above. So I think that can be in our mix of considering, will people be less likely to do the things that we're afraid of in a porta potty if there is an opening?
And one thing I forgot to share too as well, thank you for sharing that, Joe, because that's a safety thing, is that transparency. Because we know that, I mean, if you think of in your own heart how much you would be willing to give, either in labor, but especially financially, if you could see how see where your money is going. So if we could set up a program so people can go in and see where their money is going, because having that transparency is going to be key for getting people to financially commit and on a regular basis and for the long term.
All right, Michael, and then Councilman.
So it's not so much of a question, it's just an observation. You said that it is not the government's responsibility to pay for these things, and I disagree with that, because I think it's almost exclusively the government's responsibility to pay for these things. I don't understand the thought process behind putting all of this work on the backs of this community that is already struggling, that is working 2 jobs, that are barely staying afloat as it is, when you can use, funding for, what was it, $100,000 total for the budget this last year? That's ridiculous. There's the funding is out there, and while the people in the community can help and do work, I don't think it should be on the shoulders of the people that are going through this right now. I think the government has a large responsibility to help its citizens, regardless. I don't care what political party you belong to, regardless. That's the reason government exists. It's not to police people. It's not to, tell us what to do or what not to do. It is to help the people that you represent. And those are my 2 thoughts on it. I truly believe that, it should not be solely on the shoulders of the community.
Yeah, and I agree. I believe that the government to give money as well, but I don't think that's going to be their biggest participation. I think that is part of it. That is number 2. Number 1 is to make a pathway and enable it to happen, because I can't go out and do anything I want without getting the permission from the government to do it. And so that's going to be the biggest thing for them to make a way, and then also to contribute. But I think it's going to be such a big ticketed ongoing thing that our taxpayer money is not going to cover it all. And I think that those who can give so much more. I mean, I just met somebody on Bainbridge Island that gave $1 million to set up a veterinarian clinic for low-income families. I mean, that's one person. That's huge. And so if that person can see the transparency to make it happen, we can just make it bigger. So that's this kind of big vision. And I'm sorry if I didn't say that clearly. And because I do agree that giving money to help to make it happen, I mean, we're going to ask for money for the porta potties and a commitment for the long term. And so I definitely feel that it's important that we have a realistic budget, and they are committing to make that budget.
All right, let's go to Councilman, and then Jeannie, then Christy.
Perfect. I just wanted to kind of make this clear, just because it's not always transparent. So I love all the public comment, write in, speak of a meeting, any method. For directing the police, which includes the 2 mental health navigators that BPD now has, that's strictly under the mayor's purview. So the mayor is the one with the power to direct all the department heads and city staff to shift priorities, or look at this area versus that area. Council is really strictly ordinance and budget. So absolutely, for you want more dollars for X, that's definitely city council. But for our staff existing, and I think they should be focusing on this area, that's all through the mayor. So I just wanted to make that clear so that it's effective when people speak up, they're addressing it and putting the pressure on the right person.
Thank you, Councilman. Jeannie?
Actually, I think Kristen first, so I want to give her that option.
Okay, Christy.
Thank you, Jeannie. So I just want to speak to the last couple comments about the government's responsibility or the city's responsibility. I want to reframe us a little bit to, it's not about responsibility, but it's about what all of our tax dollars go to support, sort of infrastructure and things that support the public, EMS, the fire department, police, those are all, all the money that funds those departments comes from our tax dollars. And so our unhoused neighbors are part of the community that needs to be taken care of with those dollars. So if we think about, hey, those dollars fund our city parks where there are bathroom facilities, and so our unhoused neighbors have just as much right to use those bathrooms as the rest of us, except that they're only open certain hours. And so we need to think about our government supplying for the needs of our unhoused neighbors that are not met during those off hours when the other public facilities that are available to them are not available. And I do see that as our city's responsibility to fund that. And I understand. And so it also means that those staff are dealing with that, and our city funds are dealing with that anyway. It's just that, I don't know if you saw that the police department reported about, people coming in and they found permanent housing or semi-permanent housing for a group of people that were, I think it was, where were they off of? Sheridan or something? Anyway, and then so a group had to come in and clean up the trash and everything, from where that encampment was. So that work is happening anyway. We're paying for it anyway. And it would be much better if we were doing it in a preventative, clean, sanitary way. And that costs less, right? If we do prevention rather than we have to go in after and clean up this big, huge mess that's hazardous now because people didn't have the facilities to put their trash or waste in the right receptacle, right? So our funds are going there anyway, and we just need to make more efficient use of them to work on the prevention and supplying people with the right facilities to begin with. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Jeannie?
So I just wanted some clarity on the opening at the bottom of the bathroom doors, because if we're looking at rental of a honey bucket, they're not going to come that way. So are we talking about the purchase of something and then altering it? Because I've never seen a honey bucket that has, or any from any company that would do that. So I'm wondering if somebody knows something about how that could possibly be done if we purchased and then altered to make that work. I'm just kind of curious if that's been seen or done before.
Kirsten, or Anton, can you speak to that?
I don't know. I can't speak to that. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know whether you rent honey buckets that have a different door setup.
We can't hear whoever's speaking. Marwan.
You need a mic.
Obviously,
It's on.
obviously, if I said I don't know the answer to that, I haven't done a survey of porta potty availability doors. But I mean, if you owned them, you could probably do something like that. I think it would be interesting to look at the urban rest stop models, which are specifically designed for people. There's a link on the handout for that. The other comment, I'm so sorry, I have to go to a meeting about this shelter project in Port Orchard to get ready for the open house. The other thing that I keep thinking about and coming back to is that my family had the opportunity to travel in Europe a few years ago. And, we were a group with some kids, and we would find ourselves frequently needing to use bathrooms in the middle of urban areas. And Europe has public bathrooms all over the place. And it just seems so weird in contrast coming back to this country and there's no public bathrooms except for occasionally, in parks, which is awesome. But I sort of feel like it's a bigger scale problem. If I was a person walking down the street and needed to use the restroom, what are my options? Going into a restaurant, going into a public building. So I think I just want to broaden our horizons here when we think about this issue. It's not just unhoused people who struggle with finding a place to go to the bathroom. It's all of us. And let's think more broadly about what we need as a community to support hygienic, ability to go to the bathroom. And
Thank you, Kirsten.
anyway, so The other interesting thing about the European model is that they actually have a pay to go to the bathroom model, right? So you pay like 50 cents or something to go, and that supports the cost of maintaining it and keeping it nice. If you're lower income, you could get tokens to use it, but it makes them self-sustaining, right? And I again, just trying to broaden our horizons, think creatively about how to solve this problem, not just in a temporary way, but in a more global way. Also, having public bathrooms support a more vibrant, robust, downtown area where everybody wants to go hang out downtown, and they know that they can access that very basic human necessity. So I apologize again, I have to go. It's been great hearing from everybody, and I'm sure we'll be in a lot more conversation. I just wanted to make one other quick comment, which is about this idea that the city budget concept and how much the city is spending on affordable housing. I haven't looked at the city budget myself. I can't speak to this, but I assure you that funding for homeless programs does not always flow through the city budget. So some of it flows through the county, some of it flows through direct federal grants, some of it flows through the state. And so if you look at just the city budget in isolation, it doesn't tell the whole story about how much our community is investing in homelessness, especially in the city of Bremerton. So I just encourage you to not take such a simplistic view of maybe what those numbers say. And if you want more information, dig a little deeper and have a little bit of a more broad conversation with people who are knowledgeable about this, because it is much more complicated than that bottom line number. So I wish I had time to talk about it more, but anyway, just want to encourage you to use that accurate information if you're going to make that ask or that request.
So, Kirsten, as we kind of aggregate the data and then share it back out, Councilman Coughlin suggested that we send it to him to advocate. Can we do that with the county also and submit it to you and say, hey, this collective said, these are the ideas that we like, and this is kind of what it would look like. Can we pilot a program from now until the end of March when the severe weather shelter closes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a big believer in we're all in this together. Everybody does better when everybody does better, and let's get all the great minds thinking about how to best solve these issues for people. So I'm happy to be a partner in that in whatever way I can.
Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate you.
Just to chime in real quick, Marvin,
yes,
I just want to make it clear. It's best to send it to the main city council address if you're emailing.
Okay.
It will get to me. It'll also get the other council members, and then I can still advocate as it's my district.
And I can attest to that, because that is where I sent the Zoom link, and Jeff is here. So we are thankful for that. Jeannie, is your hand still up, or did that answer your question? Okay, perfect. All right, group one. Well, hold on, group one hasn't gone yet. That'd be the addition on there. So do we have a spokesperson from group one? What y'all came up with? Akuya, you were in group one. What'd you guys come up with over there? Should be a wired mic over there too, Rob.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Akuye Karen Vargas, and our group, we really spoke about some visioning, and we also spoke about the wealth of knowledge and resources that we have here in our county.
Marvin, we can't hear the speaker.
Akuye, they cannot hear you.
We know this one works. So let's not get them too close together. Okay. Good afternoon again.
Yeah,
my
there we
name
go.
is Akuye Karen Vargas. It is such an honor to be here today. Our group, we spoke about the wealth of knowledge and resources that we have here in Kitsap County. We sit in the midst of a primary military county with several bases here. We spoke about the support that we could have here, as well as educating our community about the issues and how to deliver a message to our our community about next steps for our homeless. We also spoke about the political backlash to homelessness here in our county. And we also spoke about the working homeless, that we have many of our families that are becoming homeless here, and affordable housing. We were talking about the roots of why the increase of homelessness and what we need to do moving forward. We also spoke about broken communications and strategies to be able to address some of these issues and allowing our community to be in the know. We also spoke about jobs, affordable housing, reentry, the growing homelessness, the housing costs, and the labor. We also spoke about public health and safety, that this is a public health and safety issue, especially when you talk about defecation and needles and issues around waste and cleanup around the homeless issue. We also reflected on learned lessons, what is working well, the needle exchange program, the reduction of waste, monitoring and being helpful, and empowering our homeless to have skin in the game, and gleaming from them for their personal experience, and also the showering program that they have in North Kitsap, which is a very successful program. And how do we connect with and get access to government grants around how we can collectively and collaboratively work together to address these issues. And so we had a wealth of conversation, and I think it's going to take all of us sitting down and doing some more unified collective visioning, because we also spoke about working in silos and how that has not helped us to move forward to address these issues within our communities. And so my hopes is that we will continue this visioning process and engaging our community as well as our businesses and our government to sit down at the table and really begin to break down some of the barriers so that we can build a collective, collaborative effort to address these issues.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, we have a question in the virtual. Christy?
I haven't heard about the North Kitsap showering facilities. I wonder if you could say more about that and like who sponsors it or how that works.
Is
Where
there
it is.
anyone in the room that
So
can speak to that?
That was from Fishline.
Yes.
Kirsten Jewell had shared that there was they applied for a grant and they got it there. Of course, she's gone now, so she has all the details in there. It looks like Anton has grabbed the mic. He might have some more info.
Yeah.
The I forget the name of the severe weather shelter location up in Kingston also has just an amazing facility that.
No, we have one shower in the community center that's only open from 9 until 6.
Right,
It's
not open as often as would be great, but it's more than
available to anybody in the community.
it's more than the rest of the entire county has.
Amen.
The one shower that's open.
One is more than.
Yeah, the one shower
Nothing.
that's open for a few hours here and there is more than the rest of the entire county has, with the exception of the Fishline location.
Yes. Yes, and we also spoke about broadening. When we talk about broadening the scope, we want to be able to work with our neighbors within our community. That's right there on MLK, with our Salvation Army, with our Community Resource Center, with the Marvin Williams Center, with the Opal Robertson Teen Center. We want to be able to address the issue where the issue lies, which is right there with our neighbors. And so I'm hoping that our community neighbors could come together to be able to have a real transparent conversation on how we will work in a collective way to address the issues within our neighborhood.
All right, thank you for that, Akuye. Go ahead, Rob, and then someone else from group one after that.
Actually, Akuye
Oh.
covered exactly everything I have the notes for.
Oh, perfect.
I mean, exactly.
All right, all right. That's some good note taking then. Did we have a comment here in the room?
Yes, so one of the things that we also discussed with Drayton, and he had to leave, was that he's opening his building facility so that a trailer could be rented, and it would just be a matter of getting help with staffing.
Okay, so we actually have a location to put the bathrooms there.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty good.
It'd be located there before they open their facility, or
Well, so
then
the
have to
first
wait?
floor is already open. DSHS is there once a week. WorkSource is there once a week. The Rejuvenation Center, the bottom floor, has not been permitted yet and open, but their first floor is open for service.
So it could be parked in front of there, you're saying?
Yes. There are a few hands that shot up there.
There's that option, and there's the very good idea to explore that council member Coughlin suggested going to the Park Avenue Fire Department. Then the funds that would be needed at Drayton's place for the supervision.
Marvin, we can't hear who's talking.
Possibly the New Day Rejuvenation Center, which would need staffing, but if Councilmember Coughlin's suggestion should fly at the fire department, there's some staffing budget that we wouldn't need to find immediately.
I'm sorry, the first option was the Rejuvenation Center, sorry. So did he say that was up to his board? I mean, I don't want to get ahead of a yes. It's an exploration at this point, so we could possibly have two sites possible. I say go for them both. Two is not enough. Let's just keep growing from there.
So didn't they say that they had 4 porta potties
In
that
storage?
they had purchased and that are in storage? So, apartment, yeah. Yeah, that's count. So
Does anyone have a name for who we might contact about those units that are owned by the Park Service or county?
Yeah, Anton, I have all those contacts. I don't know that they'll want to get rid of them. I think they like having them available because they have their own. They have these same issues in the parks throughout the county, so they plan to deploy them when needed. So I think it'd be better if the city was able to get their own. And then,
But even if we could get, like, where did you buy them? You know, like, but what was the price? That would be helpful.
yeah, I can share the contacts with that information.
Yeah, I think
Thank
roughly I
you.
saw like $1,100, for a very base model, and then up from my research. But yeah, I'll
Okay.
wait for Anton to give some information, and then I'll add whatever I have too. Captain?
So we are open every day, Monday through Friday for showers, and we do laundry. We've done thousands of loads of laundry, and so those are always available Monday through Friday. Even when we close the shelter, our hygiene center will stay open.
All right. So any other questions and comments? This seemed pretty productive. Do you guys believe that
So,
this was...
Marwan, just to clarify that, so basically what you're saying is, really, we don't need to focus on showering facilities so much. We really just, the priority is the bathrooms trash. that is the unmet need that, particularly during the off hours when the shelter is closed.
Well, I think that's a question for you, Captain.
So I think there are probably needs to be other showering facilities. I mean, we have 3 bathrooms and we run them, the whole time, but that's certainly not going to serve the entire population. So certainly if we have additional shower facilities available, I think that would be really, really needed.
And those that have lost the privilege also can't come in and drop their laundry off, correct?
Exactly. The people who are ineligible for services
Gotcha.
would definitely need somewhere else to go.
Or the ones that choose not to come
Yeah.
to the Salvation Army.
The ones who choose not to want to be there. Yeah.
I think that we have a real good foundation on how to move forward, but I also think that we have to have some more intentional visioning on where the gaps and barriers are, and then how to meet them when it comes down to cleaning up those areas and being able to provide services, especially fundamental services like going to the bathroom. Because I can tell you, being homeless and having to go to the bathroom and having nowhere to go, you have to make a decision whether or not you're going to defecate on yourself or find an alley, a spot, a hole, or anything else. And to me, that's dehumanizing our homeless community. And so how do we address that? How do we just start from having a clear conversation about humanizing those that are homeless?
Well, Kuya, this is the intention, right? So we're trying to operate here from a sense of urgency for this fall and winter, right? So we would like to try to pilot something to get folks through this weather shelter, hours of operation through March, and keep that conversation going for a more permanent solution until all the unhoused are housed, right? So what I'm hearing you say is we also need to continue this discussion. Is that something that we can agree to, is to keep this going?
I would hope, and I would pray that that would be something, because this is not a quick fix. This is an ongoing conversation and situation that we will continually have to deal with because of the increase of homeless families. I'm talking about families that are living out of their cars and in spaces, and they are couch surfing till they can no longer do that, and then they're on the street. So I'm hoping and praying that this is something that we will continue to put at the forefront in front of our community leaders that are here to serve us, our city governments that have been elected to serve our communities and our families. And so I'm really hopeful. This has been a hopeful session this morning, to be able to see everyone come together in a unifying way to address the needs of our community and our young people. We have a lot of homeless youth that we need to be addressing these issues.
Absolutely. Yes.
Along the same vein as what we're talking about, humanizing folks, and I know that there's a big gap in our safety net for those who are incontinent, or just, they have such physical ailments that there's nowhere for them. They can't just go to a nursing home. It just doesn't work like that. You have to have a family member who will go through hours of paperwork and phone calls and getting the right folks in to get that person help. So,
You're good.
oh, I'm good. Okay. So, I'm very, very heartbroken about those folks that aren't causing trouble. And, some are, but aren't causing trouble, but they're old, like my mama, who passed away this January. She became incontinent. Should she be laying on the ground in her own, you know? No. So should that be part of the conversation? I hope it loops in, you know? There's not, Salvation Army's not a nursing home, and neither are most of the shelters. So how do we build that into this program if that's possible?
This is more of a question for the council member in attendance. Have you ever, as the Bremerton City Council, considered a city housing and homelessness division to kind of take up some of these these issues? I know we have a county housing and homelessness division, but what about something specifically for the unique things that Bremerton encounters? Is that something that the council would consider at least entertaining?
I don't think so I just started in January and it hasn't come up, this year yet. And I don't think I've seen that discussed in the past. That is definitely worth the discussion. And it would require both, mayor and council coming on board with that and funds for staffing for people. It's definitely worth considering. Another option is possibly to just coordinate closer with the county's existing program and have them come in more often and some more data sharing and expertise sharing with other city officials. But it's a good point.
When could we have that conversation?
So I'd say send an email into the council anytime with that suggestion. We can get our feedback, mayor's feedback, and public meetings as well.
I'd send it right away so that they could possibly consider it in the budget proposal.
So why don't we go ahead and shift to next steps, and that could be the first one, Joe, if you want to capture that. We're going to kind of write these down as our kind of action items, and where do we go from here? And so just grab a mic and put it out there.
I think we have to find out how much a porta potty costs. And can we modify the doors?
Things I never thought to ask myself.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. Christy, are you able to pull up a Google Doc and maybe capture this written also? Because she's going to run out of room there. Go ahead.
I think
about a housing and position at the city. Is that what you're saying?
we didn't hear your whole statement. I cut you off at the beginning.
Repeat that, Christy.
What do you want me to capture? The part about establishing a position at the city level?
No, just writing down on a Google Doc the next steps. We're capturing it large, but if you can, we might miss some.
Okay, okay. Sure.
We got two people recording.
Christy, we can take a picture of this to save you having to do this now.
Okay.
All right. No?
Well, I guess an important big next step for us would be scheduling and planning for regularly meeting and discussing this issue. At least maybe over the next couple months, maybe we can come up with a plan, or at least plan to make a plan.
So are you guys willing to meet? Okay. Virtual, hybrid, in person, you want us to feed you again? Yes. We'll feed you again.
I would prefer hybrid because we're going into the season of giving.
Absolutely. All right, did you capture that, Joe? So, continued meeting? Yes. So we'll send out a doodle poll. Do we want to meet 2 weeks, 3 weeks? I mean, there is a sense of urgency here. As you can see, the weather has changed quite dramatically and quickly.
I don't know if we can
Can
fit a
we-
meeting in, Marwan, before November 2nd, but I do think having a concerted, organized community effort for people to speak up at November 2nd, that's the first opportunity for the public to give input on the budget discussions, the city budget discussions. And, also if you want to write a letter to the city council, or email them, your suggestions also, so they can be considering it as they're going through this budget session.
Yeah, you can start writing right now, anytime.
Showing up, even if you can show up on Zoom at the November 2nd city council meeting for community input, that would be amazing.
All right. Let's circle back to when did the week of the 9th?
My question is, what's the agenda for that day? Are we talking about toilets or are we talking broad?
So coming back with the price of the toilets, if they could be modified, right? The kind of action item list that we're kind of creating now. Yeah.
We have some honey bucket servicing information, Marwan, that Ginny gathered during our group.
Oh, do you want to share that out for purchase?
Not for purchase, it was the servicing of an ADA unit. Right, Ginny? Do I have that
Yeah,
right?
and it's in the chat. So it went to everyone who's on. So you already have a copy of it, Marwan.
Okay, I see. $140.50 one time a week per 28 days. So 271 must be 2 times a week for standard. So I think the ADA is $459 for 2 times a week, but per month. So about $5,550 per year. All right, so we can confirm that.
Yeah, sorry, Jenny, that looks right to you.
Yeah, 2 times a week.
Yeah, so they were stating that they could clean it up to 2 times a week. We could get them insured. It's at 10% of the but these would not be modifiable. Obviously, this is their standard ADA units. So when we're talking about doing something that's modified, that would have to be a purchase item. That could not be an item that we could rent. So I like the idea of a modified one as a long-term solution, but we're talking about in the short term for immediate use. And we're also looking at the city's budget. So unless somebody else has it in their budget to start, it could be started, pretty quickly. The money needs to be there and then the location needs to be decided.
All right, so I think that's the next
I
one.
think I'll round up to 10,000 a year to cover anything unexpected.
Nice. So then our 2 locations were one, Councilman Coughlin was going to check out the fire department, the Foundation for Poverty and Homeless Management. Anton?
For what it's worth, I don't personally think that the modification is going to be worth anything. It feels kind of on the border of hostile architecture to me, and I don't think the modification, what is the goal with it? You are trying to see if somebody's in there. It's not going to stop somebody from doing stuff in there, and it's going to make the unit look less maintained. It's going to make it look already damaged, so people are going to respect it less, and it's not going to look like it fits into the community as well. I think you're going to get more negative side from modifying a porta potty than you'd get positive. But that's just my personal.
No, we appreciate that. And I think the suggestion from cutting the bottom open, Anton, was for folks that were kind of locking themselves in and didn't want to come out, trying to find a way to get in. But it sounds like Parks and Rec was using them successfully. So if it's not broke, don't fix it.
And I think another issue that I heard mentioned a couple of times in my group and outside of my group is the problem with people putting needles in the porta potties, and then the people that come to clean saying they can't do it anymore because it's a health risk and it clogs things up. So someone mentioned that they coordinated with the Kitsap Public Health District in the past, and they provided some containers for syringe disposals, and there was a decrease in needles in the porta potties. And then maybe someone also said creating a program where there's a exchange program so that they're incentivized to not dump the needles down the toilet. So I'm working with Kitsap Public Health District to do that.
I just want to speak to the door question. I just wanted to share it on behalf of Jane, who had submit this information to the city council feeling like action isn't being taken. So maybe this is an answer that will satisfy your concerns. Maybe we don't need to go that route if city council is moving forward now.
All right, perfect. What else for our next meeting do we want to have achieved or put on our agenda?
I think I don't know for sure, and I asked Jeff to chime in on this, but coming up with at least a ballpark or, our best guess, if we can't get concrete information about, what is the ask, what is the funding ask or the FTE ask that we're wanting included in the budget to fund, whatever these different options are that we come up with. Jeff, am I on the right track there?
Absolutely, yeah. It really does help to have something concrete to float out there, so that it's not just so it's not nebulous. It's something specific we can focus on and debate as a council, and get the mayor's input on, right, for staff and what's doable.
Okuye? It'll be green if it's on.
Yes. One of the things that I'd like to circle back on in 2018, we had gone down to city council for city council to begin to clean up Martin Luther King Way, especially the sidewalks and the street, because the sidewalks were in terrible condition, the street was in terrible condition, and they started the process, and then we went into the COVID, and everything kind of ceased. Are they going to continue to finish the street renovation and the sidewalk renovations to be able to move forward? Because I think when we patch up, and don't do a complete job, that's a part of some of the challenges too. We have homeless as well as community members that walk through there, and the sidewalks are, that's a hazard, and the street is a hazard. Are they going to continue to that process of renovating those sidewalks in the street, or are they just going to leave it patched the way it is now? That's a question I have for our city council.
Sounds good. I'll jump in. So the prioritization of what sidewalks and what streets get repaired when is under the mayor's purview in Public Works. In the budget discussion, Public Works are promising to have a comprehensive 5-year plan out next year that will actually list prioritization of which areas are going to get restored for sidewalks and streets. So I can't speak to where the current priorities are, but I definitely encourage you to ask the mayor on that.
Right.
I can speak that the budget's in place to do, gosh, I forget the number off my head, but it's miles of sidewalk per year to keep restoring it. I know the council's especially focused on making sure the money's there to keep that sidewalk restoration, because that's one of the number one complaints we get.
Yes, and I'm more than sure that restoration had started, but are they going to complete it is my question, because they have already started that process. That was what I would like to know. Where are we now in that process to continue to renovate that crossroad there on Martin Luther King Way?
If you send either an email to me directly or to the city council email asking that question, I can make sure it gets sent on to Public Works staff and the mayor to answer and see what their timeline is.
All right. Is there any other locations that we came up with in our discussions aside from the fire department or the foundation with the rejuvenation center? Are we able to put them in between the street and the sidewalk on city property? Is that something that we came up with? Or are there any
Right,
others?
that health strip.
There was my idea of establishing a city park there with city bathrooms.
Right.
It might be 10 by 10 city park.
I think that idea has come up in the past, and I'm pretty sure Parks Department was not in favor of a micro park, but it's interesting to explore.
Councilman, do you know what Diamond Parking's position is? They don't seem to use the parking lot. There's not a lot of vehicles there. Would they be willing to rent, 4 or 5 stalls out so that we can, place the bathrooms there?
I can't speak to them, and I'm not sure. At least they haven't told me publicly what their thoughts are, but I know Bob Dupree is the main contact for them, so that'd be a great question to send on to him.
I'll send you an email for that because I don't know who that is, but that'd be great to.
Sure, I can give you his contact, but Bob Dupree is the manager for the area for Diamond Parking.
Another one I heard somebody bring up was PCHS. They have the building, they must have some land outside the building that is theirs that they could offer for porta potty.
All right. All right, so our
And,
list
and
doesn't.
Marwan, who bought Monica's Social Club? Who bought that?
Salvation
And what
Army.
is the intent?
Captain?
Yes, the Salvation Army is in the process of.
There to be seen by them.
I'm sorry.
No,
What?
it's fine.
Oh, okay.
Camera
Sorry.
to
Yeah.
look at for them
Oh.
to see her
Yeah,
face.
yeah.
Okay, I'm always looking there. Okay, anyway, hello. So we are in the process of purchasing Monica's. We do have a closing date of the end of March 2023. Our intention is to put in a client choice food pantry in that space. We also will be reopening our our clothing bank. At this time, I don't believe there are any clothing banks in Kitsap County, and so we really think that's a super important need. So that's something that we would do. And then, so I just want to say briefly, and this might be a help as we go forward. I know that PCHS is planning on putting their entrance to their new facility. So you would be coming in from MLK. So the entrance would not necessarily be on 6th Street. So we're really excited about that because that means they're really going to be utilizing that back parking lot. So we may have that same thing with Monica's where the entrance is going to be facing MLK. So then that whole area right there is going to be utilized regularly. So it probably is going to change the face of all that. I would say. Yes, ma'am.
So, is there anything else that we need to really put on this list? Obviously, we're not going to have 2 hours and 4 hours to meet in 2 weeks, but we have an hour. So, if we come back in 2 weeks and say, hey, this is what we found out, here's the cost, here's our proposal, we share it to the group, ready to submit to the council. Well, we need to submit it before then, but to meet and talk and go forward from then and not put too much on our plate.
So the budget for a public comment meeting for the city council is on the 2nd, so that's in 1 week. And so before our next meeting, you're proposing in 2 weeks, right, we're looking at?
Yeah, so we'll meet again in 2 weeks, but we'll have to have something for budget before then. So we'll have to do some work behind the scenes without meeting and maybe just through email.
Okay. So what I wrote down, what that I thought would be good for us to focus on for the next meeting is brainstorming a long-term goal and like what the moving parts would look like. So then that we can, and then so that way we can keep presenting it to the city council and not relent. So if this, and then I guess, and another thing was how, right now, how can we rally public input and to join in and participate? What I could present and give and do right away, I'll make it tonight, is just a simple instruction for individuals how to do the email and to present it very simply and streamlined. So it's not, like a novel of an email that the community is sending, because that's really not effective and not as hard for, I would imagine, for city council to read all that. But so I can offer that, and I thought maybe the group could present key points as citizens that we want to present, just as suggestions and ideas for the public to pick from and to pull from. But I think number one is getting them to commit to a long-term plan, and then immediately for solutions for bathroom, for porta potties, just a commitment to do that.
So Janelle, just to summarize what you're saying is what the talk. Saying this and this person saying that, and we're all speaking as one voice.
Right. So and then even others in the public can have can see, oh, these are some of their ideas. I really like that. I want to encourage that too. So then people aren't having to come and reinvent their own idea will, but then also then we can remember and then also have a unified thing, of importance.
Yeah, I think that would be very helpful.
I'd like to propose that before we leave, we come up with, as a group, something we are recommending to the city council, because the time is now, October 2nd is the time for public comment. We can send email in the meantime, but do we have consensus about our recommendation after this time today that the city provide for porta potties, and that we, at this moment, would love to see it happen on city property, meaning the fire department, and if that fails, there are other options to look at. But can we zero in on that and support that as an idea?
Yes.
All right. Now, Christy, would you mind typing that up? That might be a paragraph statement there.
And I'd really love to propose, if we had a census, and if to put to the city that they create permanent public bathrooms on parks, and if that's create mini parks, whatever, but that be a goal and that be a focus and necessity to have for our city. I mean, this would be a beautiful precedence for our state.
Let's plug it now. Yes, plug what you want in now. That's right. And then keep.
All right. Well, let us. Councilman.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in too of, I think good to focus on budget issues now. And then usually at the start of the year, and maybe a couple of months after the start, we have an annual retreat between council and mayor to establish our goals and priorities for the year. And that's another chance for public weigh-in of, hey, over the year, I'm going to discuss this big project, big ideas. So that idea of the permanent restrooms, which cost a lot more money, be a much bigger project, that's a good time to get it on our radar.
All right. Do we have any talented scribes that can get us started on this wordsmithing? Or she's going to write it, but someone has to come up with the words.
Joe just said it.
Yeah, I think you all trust us to come up with the language based on what we've just thumbs up today.
Oh, okay.
Our group's chat and like figures that we got from Honey Bucket and our group discussion about our ideas. I have that captured already.
All right, perfect.
In my notes.
So it's important before you leave here today, please to